Is Antarctica on your travel to-do list? Stay tuned for a review of Silversea Expeditions to Antarctica. Joining me today to review this Silversea Antarctica adventure are Tina Hirr and Jennifer Walters of Cruise and Travel Experts. Both Tina and Jennifer have been meeting the needs of their clients in and around Michigan and across the country for the last 20 plus years. Hi, ladies. Welcome to RTE Travel Talk.
Thank you for having us.
Hello.
It's great to have you with us. A few weeks ago, I had the privilege of interviewing Tim Aum, sales director for Silversea Marketing and Expeditions. And during the course of the interview, Tim happened to mention that he was leading a group of travel advisors to the Antarctic for an expedition. Now, if you'll pardon the play on words, Antarctica is a hot destination for a lot of our viewers and listeners. And I gather that you two were two of the folks that sailed with Tim on this expedition.
Yes.
Perfect.
We had the privilege.
Perfect. So I've got a ton of questions, both from myself and from viewer comments. So why don't we start with just you guys giving us a little bit of a 30,000 foot level of the expedition, when you went, how long were you gone for, how many were on board, etc. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Perfect.
I'll go ahead and start off. We did in November, the day right after Thanksgiving. We were off and running and ended up down in Santiago to start off.
Right.
And we spent a night in Santiago. From there, they picked us up, took us down to Punta Arenas on one of their charter flights, Silverseas, and then also had one night in Punta Arenas. Once we did that, we were able to catch a flight over the Drake Passage, which is a new type of program that they have, Silverseas. Right. We went and landed in King George Island. And then we were taken to the ship by Zodiac for 6 nights on that ship, and then basically did the reverse coming back once we were done with the cruise. And during that time, we got to explore wonderful areas of Antarctica, places that we never would have dreamed of being at that time.
Right on.
Yeah.
It sounds like a fantastic adventure. Did you guys have a good time?
It was amazing. Yes.
It was absolutely incredible.
So one of the number one questions we get is, how cold was it there?
You know, it's their summer. So I think people are shocked to hear that it's 31 to 45 degrees given the time of year that you go during the winter months here in the U.S.
Right.
And so it can be very, very mild. We live in Michigan. We get pounded during the winter months, and it was actually colder here in Michigan when we were in Antarctica. So we had mild, we had some sunny days and very, very comfortable weather conditions.
So that probably made for some "I wish you were here" Facebook posts from from where you were up to your friends up in Michigan.
Yeah, ironically, yes.
So tell us a little bit more about the itinerary, ladies, and just what you experienced.
We were one of the, I would say, lucky ones. Our group was, due to the fact that depending on the Chilean Air Force, depending on what time they allow us to actually get on and fly over the Drake Passage, get on a plane and fly over it. We weren't very excited, but it was a 2 a.m. wake up.
Oh, wow.
And we had to go, get ready and get on that plane.
Right.
However, because of the fact that we did that, we were in King George Island by, I want to say 11 a.m. Well, I should say we were on the ship by 11 a.m. We were sailing at that time, and that's not normal for them. Normally, I believe their departure time is usually around 4 p.m. So we were able to leave King George Island a little bit early, and we got to discover some areas that they hadn't been able to get to, as of yet. So we didn't stop at the normal destinations, shall you say, when it comes to Antarctica. We were able to go to a little bit further just because we had such a good start. So we did, of course, the peninsula, the Antarctic Peninsula.
It was like Orne Harbor. We did a lot of coves and harbors where we would anchor for the day or for the morning and then have an expedition of some kind, either by Zodiac and do a landing is what they call it. and get to explore, hike, see different colonies of penguins. If you were chosen that day, you could kayak perhaps.
Yeah.
And then we would move to a different location that afternoon.
Oh, fantastic.
Again, all weather dependent, safety is number one, but our day was spent on expedition experiences.
So you had an expedition pretty much every day that you were there, and sometimes probably, I think I recall from talking to Tim, because of the way Silversea handles it, you could actually get 2 landings in a day in some cases. Was that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
Now, you guys mentioned that you flew over the Drake Sea. Now, what I do know is that's one of the things about an Antarctic expedition is that a lot of these places have to spend quite a lot of time sailing through the Drake Passage, and that can get quite rough and makes for a bit of a less than comfortable ride for folks. Is this business of flying a new thing with Silversea, and do you recommend it?
I think within the last couple of years just started this process. Right. Now, when we were in one of our daily briefings on the ship, they showed us what we actually missed flying over the Drake Passes, instead of actually sailing the Drake Passage.
Okay.
We were looking at 15 to 25 foot swells.
For 2 days.
For 2 days. Believe me, no.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear you. Because you get there and you spend a day getting over being green.
Exactly. The flying, I would recommend to any person, if they're going to do expedition like this, they need to do the fly. Most definitely. It's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. Plus I would expect it probably gives you more time.
Yes.
For expeditions, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So what was the flight like? What was the flight like landing in Antarctica?
Actually, it was like you didn't really even notice that you are flying onto a Chichilian Air Force base that has gravel as a runway.
Okay.
It's not like our airports here where we've got the nice, cement runways. It's all gravel. You didn't notice anything about that. The flight itself, you felt like you were being spoiled a little bit,
really?
Especially when they come to you and they hand you a plate of food, and it's a real plate and it's real silverware, and the food was edible. We felt like we were being a little spoiled.
So they weren't handing out a packs of pretzels and peanuts then, obviously.
No, and it was food that Silversea's makes on their ships, and so that was really nice.
And another thing, we were blessed with like a really clear day.
Yeah.
So Tina was sitting by the window and we could look down. She got some amazing pictures, and there was just glaciers upon glaciers, and it was so beautiful to look outside our plane window. And we found out that Chile has 50% of the glaciers on Earth in their country. So it was just amazing to be able to see that and fly over and see our actual expedition ship high above and see the Zodiacs dropping off the passengers that were getting off the ship and we were about to embark on. Yeah. It was exciting. They got the adrenaline flowing.
I can tell just from talking to you, you're reliving it, and I'm getting to live it vicariously through you guys.
Yes,
it's easy to do.
So, how did you find the ship? The Silver Endeavour is quite a ship, as far as I know. How were the accommodations on board? And was it just travel advisors on this particular one, or was there a mix of passengers?
Yeah, okay. There were a mix of guests. We had, I think, 14 cabins on board the ship with travel advisors. So that was what consisted of our group.
Right.
With Tim Am. The suite accommodations are gorgeous. Everyone has a suite. Everyone has a butler. Everyone has a balcony. So it's just understated elegance, I think, is what we decided really describes it perfectly. You are casual. You're in your gear. You're doing expeditions twice a day. And then you can go in with that gear and have the most delicious lunch, breakfast, whatever, and in this elegant ship. So it was amazing.
So with the suites and the balconies and the service for prior Silversea clients, they're not probably going to find a lot of difference then, other than the size of the ship, right?
No, they're not going to see any difference. One of the things that stuck out to me is that here you are, as Jennifer said, that you're in all of this gear and you're going back and forth, onto land or just doing a Zodiac cruise, and you're coming back in and you're just casual. You're in jeans, or you're in, some type of warming, like whitening outfit, and it was okay. Nobody looked down on, like, oh, you're wearing that, because we're in this beautiful, luxurious ship.
Yeah.
Like she said, that's how we kind of came up with that. It's an understated elegance. We really felt like we were pampered beyond what we would even expect. I mean, the food was just excellent.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Which seemed weird because you're in such a desolate, isolated place in the world. You can't just go to another port and restock.
Yeah.
The food was delicious. We couldn't believe.
It's amazing how they do that.
There was tons of opportunities too. You're not always having the same type of meal, so they had variety, which was nice as well.
That's great. Yeah.
How many restaurants were on board the Silver Endeavour?
They had 4 restaurants.
Really? Wow.
4 restaurants. There was an Italian restaurant, kind of a main dining restaurant that just had a little bit of everything. And then we had the steak house, which was called the Grill.
Yep.
That one was basically all windows at the back of the ship. It was one of our favorites.
We loved it.
Just gorgeous. And it was a great place to eat for lunch, and to be able to sit there and look out at what you just went out and experienced. And then they also had the French restaurant. That we did not try that one. There was a $60 upcharge for that one per person. But other than that, every restaurant was all included, including your beverages, which, would be wine, beer, any type of drink that you would want at that point in time.
Now, we had the privilege of sailing with Silversea in December. And one of the things that Deb and I noticed, and we really, really enjoyed, was meeting the other guests on board. It was just a fantastic mix of people. And everybody just kind of happy to be there. And there's kind of a myth sometimes. People think, well, this is a luxury line. There's going to be a bunch of snobs on it. But it was just wonderful, a wonderful experience. Did you find the same thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
The people on there are wonderful. Everyone was, believe it or not, I never saw an unhappy face.
Right.
Everyone had a smile on their face the whole time.
Right.
The idea of being able to go and do all these expeditions and explore out and about in Antarctica, but yet you come back onto a luxurious ship and you're pampered, and you can just sit and look back and think, okay, what did we do today? What was our adventures today? Everyone had a different story of the type of adventure that they had. Even though we're all in the same place, everyone had a different type of story. So that was really interesting to me, that we all were on the same landing, but yet there was something different, that each person had a story to tell.
And everybody gets together and shares stories in the evening time.
Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of stories and stuff, what kind of wildlife did you get to see for the most part?
Well, unfortunately, Tina did get to see her orcas, killer whales. They're a little bit harder to find, but humpback whales, a variety of seals, lots of different penguins, just beautiful.
Yeah.
When we did get to kayak on our beautiful sunny last day, we had 6 curious penguins that followed our kayaks behind us that were jumping.
Oh, really?
Water, 3 different species that were swimming together, which was very, very cool.
But,
just absolutely amazing experiences.
It's those little experiences that stay with you, whether you're a travel advisor or just a guest.
Right.
You're always going to remember those penguins following the kayaks.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Now, I wasn't able to see my orca. Yeah. However, the sailing prior to us, Actually, they had 3 orcas swimming right next to their Zodiac the week before. You can find them. It's just they're a little elusive. So
Yeah.
But I loved how when you hopped in our first Zodiac experience on our first evening or night, we were in this beautiful harbor. They turned off the motor to the Zodiac, which only had about 10 of us in it.
Yes.
And here was a humpback that was breaching. And it was so quiet and still. We could hear it blow
Oh, wow.
so loud. And then it trumped.
It trumped.
It was
Trumpeted.
trumpeted. Thank you. It pinch me moments just over and over and over again.
So was that your favorite moment?
Oh boy, no, maybe. I think our ice floe experience is our top
Yes,
one, right?
our ice floe. So I say we were one of the lucky ones.
Yeah.
We did our first landing. It was the first day, first landing. And all of a sudden Jen and I trek up to the top of this mountain and we're told that we have to get down.
Right.
As soon as possible.
Right.
We don't have any time to really play around and check out the penguins. The reason for that is because ice floe started coming into the bay.
Okay, yes.
The weather turned on us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So by the time that we got down, they were, putting people on the Zodiacs to try to get them to the ship. Problem is that all that ice surrounded all the Zodiacs.
Okay.
So we were one of the Zodiacs that were in the middle of this bay on a Zodiac, and the ice was all around us. And here we are thinking, oh, wow, this is just so neat. This is really cool. And our driver of the Zodiac, he's panicking, not showing it. He was phenomenal, but they had to have the ship actually back up into the ice and throw the thrusters on to break up the ice for us to move. We didn't realize that, but that's what they had to do. And when the expedition team at the end of the 6 nights asked everyone, what was your favorite moment? Most of them who were in the ice stated it was being in the ice on those Zodiacs, not able to get anywhere. And the Zodiac team said, you guys were all excited. We were panicking. Here we are panicking. We need to get you to the ship. Make sure you're okay because you don't realize that we might be stuck out here, But
that wouldn't have happened.
No, but he, it was just an awe moment of how Antarctica can just spring up all of a sudden, this, major ice flow.
Yeah, but in talking with Tim, safety is their number one priority and concern. So they they go out of their way not to put any of their guests in harm's way.
Yeah, before we even our group is even announced to go to our station to get geared up and all of that to get on our Zodiac, they have a whole scout crew that goes out and surveys that particular port that we're stopping at or anchoring in to make sure that our landing is safe, that the weather is going to be okay. They review that all the evening before in the briefing. They review the weather, the potential hazards, what they're looking out for. You're never in the dark of what is going on and your safety. You always feel perfectly safe.
Speaking of the scenery and the glaciers and that sort of stuff, that was unbelievable, I would expect.
Yes.
Jenn, what's this I hear about Zodiac side service on when you're out and about?
Right? I know. We were on the Zodiac and all of a sudden we have a surprise for you today. And they motor on over to some of the expedition team that was in another Zodiac and they handed out glasses of champagne and hot chocolate. And there we sit amongst this beautiful backdrop, this beautiful scenery with mountains and ice and icebergs, and we're sipping champagne. It's like, really?
Amazing.
And
It's just absolutely amazing. So the excursions, how do you get to do the excursions? Do you have to sign up for them, or are they all included as part of your program?
No.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, you don't need to sign up for anything. It's all part of your cruise fare that you paid for. So you can decide if you want to go or not. You are automatically signed up.
Okay.
The only thing you do have to take a special safety course for and get selected in a lottery type system is to kayak.
Okay.
And on our particular ship, we had a lot of avid kayakers, including ourselves.
Right.
So we did get to go on our very last day. We were finally selected. And we had a beautiful sunny day surrounded by glaciers. some of the glaciers captured the light and
Oh,
they
it's
turned that
gorgeous.
vibrant blue. We were just surrounded by that in glistening sunny day. I just, again,
And to top it off, we had those penguins
Yeah.
that were following our kayaks. So it was
Right.
it was phenomenal.
You guys are sitting there dressed in orange. Are those your jackets? What
Those
Yeah.
are
what
our
are we looking
jackets.
at here?
We're looking.
Yep, it's our
So our
Silversea.
Silverseas. I don't know if you can see it,
Oh
but they're
yes.
You get to keep them. They're a keepsake. They're amazing, especially we get to go back to Michigan winter, so we've been using these
Very
a
handy.
lot.
Very handy.
But yeah, you get to keep your gear, reorder it. We assist you with all of that.
Right.
Ordering your gear ahead of time. The boots, everything arrives in Punta Arenas the night before you fly out to Antarctica. So you
Right.
get to try it on. If it doesn't fit, you go downstairs in your hotel and they swap it out. It's a very easy, seamless
No,
Now-
perfect.
program.
you do have to go and make sure you've purchased some things just
Yes.
to stay a little bit on the warm side.
Okay.
Especially if you're like me, I'm a cold person. So
Right.
She's not really.
well, but I'm always cold. So anything like the kind of like long john type clothing that has whipping in it. That's
And wool.
really and wool.
Wool.
That's really the main thing. Wool socks. I went and purchased gloves and mittens. So I had gloves underneath my mittens. So that when I took off my mittens, if I wanted to take a picture with my phone,
Right.
I was able to because the gloves allowed me to do that without taking them off.
Right.
And of course, a hat. But really, other than that, Silverseas gives you these jackets. They are nice and warm. You have 2 layers, and you can take 1 layer off if you want, if it's too warm. And then you get waterproof or pants. And then now the boots that they give, you have to give the boots back. I really actually liked them. They
Me
were very
too.
nice. You do have to give those back, but you are
They're
able.
like mucklucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are able to go ahead and keep your gear, or they even will, if you don't want to bring it home, they will actually take it and they bring it somewhere basically to give to donate to someone that actually needs a jacket or, things like that. So that was really nice to hear.
Fantastic. So I would expect if you were booking this adventure for some of your guests, you'd work with them to make sure that they had the list of stuff that they need, so that Silversea recommends, and
Yeah,
follow
there
up with
is
them.
definitely more preparation for this type of vacation, for this type of experience. A lot of steps to go through where, we can certainly, now that we've experienced it firsthand, help you greatly so you don't feel overwhelmed.
Right on. So you mentioned everybody had their own special pair of footwear, and there's an entry room, I believe, with boot warmers on the Silver Endeavour. What's that all about?
They call it a mud room.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what it is you'll go down there, you'll have your jacket, you'll have your pants on, but there are a place where you can keep your boots, and
Right.
you'll have a little locker
Okay.
to be able to put your hat in and mittens or whatever you want to put in there. But the nice thing is the boots actually hang on these, I guess you could call them stick warmers. That's what I called them.
Right.
And if they get wet or anything inside, they get dried out for the next time that you go to utilize those. One of the things that this mudroom is for, besides getting ready or coming back and taking off the boots, to go back into the ship, is that this is the area where we need to make sure that our boots are clean.
Right.
That we actually have put them in a solution on our return. There's like a brush that was on the floor, and it kind of was like a U-shaped brush, and you would put your foot in there as you're coming off of the Zodiac, and you would rub your foot back and forth through that, and it was cleaning off any type of debris from your excursion.
Yeah, they don't want any foreign bacterias or
Right.
anything to come into Antarctica, because no one owns Antarctica.
Right.
They're real sticklers for not getting
for
the environment contaminated.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Zodiacs a little bit. With Zodiacs, your landings are like, I know for example in the Galapagos with the Zodiac, you do what's known as a wet landing, where you pull up to the beach and you jump off and into the water and you wade in. Well, I can't imagine you're doing that in in Antarctica. So tell me a little bit about how you transitioned from the Zodiac to where you were going.
No, that's exactly what you do. You do jump off into the water,
Oh, you
but
do?
you're right at shore. Yes. Yep. That's how you land, is exactly what you said. You land right on the beach,
Right.
and then you get wet, but you have all waterproof gear on, so you stay nice and dry and comfortable. So that's
Okay.
exactly. And then there's expedition team members that help you off the on or off and back on the Zodiac.
Yeah.
And there's different hand grips you have to use and all of that, and they tell you explicitly what you need to do. You also are wearing a life vest that is very compact, comfortable, doesn't even feel like you're wearing one.
Right.
So that you have to wear every time you hop in a Zodiac as well. So very safe, fun, getting off and on.
So you're
It
not,
is.
but when you're doing a wet landing, you're not jumping off into 3 feet of water. You're jumping off into
No.
6 inches of water, probably, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What about the weather? Was any of your itinerary affected by inclement weather?
No, we didn't
No.
have any issues with inclement weather at
We got
all.
really lucky.
We were. This sailing was probably one of their better weather sailings at that point in time.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to tell you, one day we're sitting there and it's snowing, and we're walking up the trails, and then we had that ice flow that came in, to another day where I have my jacket off. I'm hot. Now remember, I'm from Michigan,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it was 41 degrees, and trying to have your jacket on and walk around and kind of hike up a little ways, and I ended up taking my jacket off,
Yeah.
believe it or not, and I've got a great picture of it because why you wouldn't think someone would have their jacket off.
Tina doesn't do that.
And I don't do that, but you wouldn't think someone would have their jacket off in
Right.
Antarctica. The weather was actually very, very good for this type of excursion.
So,
But if we have inclement weather, they have new plans in place to move on, go somewhere where it's not inclement, to be able to still do expeditions. It might not be at that location that we intended to visit.
so they've got the ability to shift gears.
Yes, adapt
Yeah.
very quickly.
Yeah. So I hear one of you did the polar plunge.
Woo! Yes, I did.
Not me. I chose not to plunge.
Yes, right. Yep. Tina decided not to. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
If you have any inkling of, do I want to do that? Fun, loud dance music is playing. As you're waiting in the mud room for your turn, and they have a whole bar set up. So if you need some liquid
encouragement,
I had a couple shots to lessen the nerves, but it's a lot of fun. Is a rite of passage. It was for me. Some people decide it's not worth it. So it's your choice, obviously. But yeah, I never felt cold until that day, and I live in Michigan.
Ticked off the bucket list.
Absolutely. Yes. But very cool. The camaraderie from that experience was
I bet. Yeah.
Really neat. Really, really, really cool.
So one of the things that Deb and I found when we were on the Silver Shadow in December was that the team on board was just absolutely fabulous. They couldn't do enough for you. How did you find your expedition team and the staff and the crew of the Silver Endeavour?
I could not believe the knowledge that they had. They either had multiple doctorates, PhDs, and you could ask them any question and they had the answer. And if they didn't have the answer, they would be like, you know what? I'll get that answer for you. And then usually in our daily briefings, they would come up and they would say a question was asked and they'll give you the answer. Phenomenal. Even the lectures that they put on some lectures as well. Lectures as in terms of wildlife, bird life.
Yeah.
I will tell you, we were astounded by the daily briefings. It wasn't just, okay, we're going to go here and then we're going to go here. There were maps up on the screen telling us exactly where we were going. We knew exactly how far that was going to be. We knew if we were going into a harbor or into a bay. They they basically told us what we were going to expect.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
it
And no
was
one
phenomenal.
ever had a question after.
No.
No one.
Yeah.
Not one person,
Yeah.
because it was
Yeah.
so informative and detailed.
And fascinating.
And
Yes.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell me about a typical day. You get up in the morning, you start your day. Like,
Right.
what's the timeline?
So yeah, you have time to have usually a leisurely morning. I mean, you're up and at 'em. You're
Right.
not sleeping in or anything, but you're up and at 'em. You're having a nice leisurely breakfast. You then, depending on what group you are, there's 4 groups.
Right.
Depending what group you are that day, they brief that the night before as well, what timeline each group is, so you can plan your morning accordingly. And then, you're going on your first, expedition of the day.
Right.
Excursion of the day. And then you come back, you have a couple hours to have lunch, maybe enjoying the enrichment lecture of that day, whether it be on seals, whales, the white continent. And then you get ready to go out again, because now the ship is moving to the second location of the day.
Okay.
And then you're kayaking, you're zodiacking, you're landing, you're doing whatever you're doing there. And then after you get back to refresh, go to the briefing that evening, and then your dinner, wherever you decide to go that evening. And then you can dance, you can listen to the piano, you can go to bed, which we did.
We were pretty tired.
Oh, yeah. They're
I
big
bet-
days.
I bet
you're
you a lot of
exhausted.
people went to bed because it sounds like a really big day.
Yeah, but you go to bed smiling.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
And you wake up and you open the curtains and you're like, oh my gosh, look how beautiful it is again.
You are busy 100% of the time, but you don't have to go to the lectures if you don't want to, the enrichment lectures.
Mhm.
However, for me, I found
too.
that was the most informative,
Yeah.
especially when you're not sure what you're seeing. Like, I'm not a big bird person. I knew there were going to be penguins,
Right.
but Antarctica has a huge array of different species of bird.
Oh,
I
wow.
never would have imagined
Yeah.
how many there were.
No, you wouldn't think. Yeah.
No, but taking the enrichment lecture, I learned all about them, so that when we went out, I was able to say, oh, that's right, I know what that is.
For sure.
Fantastic. So we talked earlier about safety being paramount for Silversea and really any expedition team that's down there. Was there a doctor on board? Because I that's a question we kind of get from some of our viewers and listeners. They're worried about that.
Yes, there is a doctor on board. With that said, you're very remote, you're very isolated. So when you are planning a trip like this, you do need to take a look at your current overall health.
Right.
And make sure, that you're comfortable with being so remote. A helicopter can't just fly in and take you off the ship and take you a couple miles to a port. There is no port. There is no hospital. So, it's not to scare anyone away, but it is, you do need to look at your wellness.
Well, and it's probably worthwhile if you're considering this to make a phone call to your family doctor and say, you know what, this is what I want to do. What do you think?
Yes.
And they they can probably give you a good clue in whether it's
if
wise
you're
or not.
concerned, if you have underlying health issues already, yes, do that. If you don't, then of course go with it.
So
what I will say with that is that there were people of all ages on this excursion. A lot of people, when we talk about it, they're just like, oh, I don't know, I'm getting too old, or there were tons of people anywhere from the range of probably 35, 40,
right.
up into, I would say, 75. It's a huge range age, but still, you do want to check with your doctor. But most definitely, your experience on these expeditions, you can make them what you want.
Right.
If you can't climb that mountain, you don't have to. You can just walk the trails. Things like that. You're never too old to do something like this, because it is such an experience.
Yeah. So the key thing is, if you know your limitations, age, and you're generally in good health, age really isn't a factor.
No.
Yeah. How did the trip compare to what your expectations of it were going in?
It surpassed 1,000%. And
and beyond.
You ask anyone, I was over the moon excited for this trip, and it blew
Yeah.
it away. Just, it's hard to describe. I mean, I know we've been talking about it and you can see our excitement and all of that, and we hope that is contagious. But anyone that follows in our footsteps and goes on something like this and experiences it, they will say words cannot fully describe what you see and experience.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
that is true. I was a little apprehensive because I don't like to be cold, but I'll tell you, from the moment we got on that ship, all of that went away.
Yeah.
It was so eye-opening to experience something that only a certain percentage of the world gets to actually experience.
0.5% of the
Yeah.
world population will get to go to Antarctica.
Oh, fantastic.
Crazy.
Now, with the limited space on these ships, I would assume, number one, the availability on them is fairly tight. How far in advance do you think that if you're considering this, you should start, if you're thinking, you know what, this is on my travel to-do list. How far in advance should I consider booking it? And when is the best time of year in your guys' view that?
Yeah, Tina and I were talking about that yesterday, and I think we feel, anywhere from 9 months to 2 years out, depending on how you want to budget for this
Right.
trip, because it's not going to be your least expensive
No.
vacation experience. So we can talk to you about that. And, 9 months, at least then you have a decent timeline to plan. But then again, we've had clients that are like, sign me up, let's go
Let's
in
go,
2
we're
months.
doing it now.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, we want to go and do what you did.
Yeah.
That's fine, because Silversea does have the door-to-door program where all the flights, transportation from your home to, airport is all taken care of. So that is doable, but typically I would say 9 months to 2 years, right? Yeah.
So their summer for Antarctica is actually the North America's winter.
Okay.
So that's going to be the time frame that you're going to want to go. When we went in November, it was more of their spring.
Okay.
We didn't get a lot of days of sun, but believe me, the days that we did get of sun, we were very happy to see.
Yeah.
But even without sun, it was majestic. It was just unfathomably majestic, just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And that's a good point, Tina, because when you say timeline, that's true. You can only go there during their summer months. You don't want to be there in winter.
No, I wouldn't expect.
No.
I would have to expect the services of an expert travel advisor such as yourself would be very helpful in planning such an adventure.
Yes, most definitely.
Absolutely. I can't imagine doing it without someone like us.
Because of all the extra bells and whistles you got to pull together in the planning to make it all come together, right?
Right.
Yes.
And especially if you want to spend more time in Chile.
Yeah.
Yes.
We definitely would. We flew in the day that, this package started. We didn't do any extra pre-stays. Oh my gosh, hands down. We would love to go in and fly, into Patagonia. And, if you have 3 weeks, oh my gosh, we can fill that time for you with amazing experience before you even see Antarctica.
Yeah.
That
Well,
can be
exactly.
done.
If you're going that far south, you may as well make use of spending the money on the air to stay a little longer and tick off a few more things off the travel to-do list. That only makes sense. Yeah.
Right.
Well, folks, this is just absolutely super information. Is there anything else you might like to add before we wrap up?
Probably just one thing. A lot of people will look at this and they'll come up and they'll be like, "Yeah, that's just too expensive. I don't want to do that. I don't know."
Right.
Kind of thought process. When it comes to Antarctica or even an expedition cruising, I'm not a huge cruiser. I would rather do a land-based vacation. However, if someone put another cruise expedition in front of me, I would grab it. And no doubts, nothing. You have no concerns. You're not worrying about, okay, what are we going to do? We got to find an excursion to do. Or are we just going to walk around?
Right.
None of that.
Yeah.
Everything
It's
is
a
taken
package
care
deal.
of. Yes.
Yeah.
Expedition cruising is probably the new way, in my book, to cruise. Right now, they have the Kimberleys, which is in Australia.
Yep.
So it's nice and warm. They have also the Arctic.
Yep.
The polar excursion or expedition. They even have
Alaska,
and there's another one that is over in
Galapagos.
Oh,
They,
the Galapagos.
they go to the
But there's
Galapagos?
also one over in Europe.
Yes.
In my opinion, cruising and doing an expedition, like I said, is the new way to cruise.
Yeah.
These experiences you will never forget. You will never be able to really relay to someone just how phenomenal the experiences were.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you'll carry them for a lifetime.
yeah. Well, let's
Right.
put it this way. If you're somebody that vacations every year on a premium cruise line and you go every year, well, if you want to experience one of these expedition cruises, then maybe you just go every 2 years because that'll probably
Right.
put you in the same ballpark on affordability, right?
And it's just something so different and unique than
Yeah.
your standard cruising product.
Perfect. If folks wanted to reach out to either one of you about a expedition cruise with Silversea or another adventure, how would they do that?
They can either call our office, Cruise and Travel Experts.
Mhm.
It's in Spring Lake, Michigan, and I believe the number is on the ticket there. And also email us. That would be another way. You can find our emails on that ticket below, but otherwise, just go to www.cruiseandtravelexperts.com,
Oh, perfect,
and you can
perfect.
find us.
Yes.
I will leave that contact information in the description for those folks that may like to reach out. Now, just before I let you go, I always have to ask because, like I said earlier, I live vicariously through the people I interview. Where are you guys off to next? What's your next travel adventure?
Well, I just got off the Icon of the Seas. That is the brand new, hugest, largest
Oh,
ship in
yeah.
the world now with Royal Caribbean, and it is amazing. And go. If you want to, experience a fun Caribbean
Yeah.
experience that has all the bells and whistles, this definitely has.
Oh, super. And how about you, Tina?
Me, I really don't have anything set up yet, but my next adventure is going to be Africa. So keep on working on that and go enjoy some more wildlife.
Africa's high on a lot of people's travel
Yes.
to-do
Right.
list. Yeah.
Yes.
And Icon of the Seas is amazing. I did an interview with the sales director for Royal Caribbean a few months ago on Icon, and she's an amazing ship. So we'll have to have you back sometime to regale us with your adventures on Icon. How's that sound?
Sounds perfect.
Sounds like a plan.
We'd love to do it.
Yeah. And Tina, when you do the Africa thing, I'd love to hear from you too.
Oh, I would be more than welcome to do that. So
All right. Well, that's wonderful. So with that, I'm just going to wish the two of you safe and happy travels on all your future adventures, cruises, and destinations. May the wind always be at your back, and I hope to see the two of you on a Lido deck sometime in the future. Take care.
thanks
Thanks, Ken.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And that about wraps it up for today, folks. A very special thanks to my guests, Tina and Jennifer of Cruise and Travel Experts. If you'd like to reach Tina or Jennifer, I will leave their contact information in the description. As always, if you'd like to reach us, you can send a question to questions@realtravelexperts.com, visit our website, realtravelexperts.com, or simply leave a comment. We always respond. And as always, folks, if you enjoyed this content, a like, subscribe, and a ring of the bell is certainly appreciated and helps us to spread the word. So until next time, happy travels!